Hi everyone, this is Daniela. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the incense mixture and why I selected the spices and the herbs and the resins and the roots that I did select for my incense mixture that is gonna go into, or that's going into my ritual box. So I have a little cheat sheet here because just to remember everything I put, because there are quite some ingredients and some of them you might be familiar with and some of them might be a little bit more unknown. And also just a word before that, I realized recently actually only that I started making mixtures and working with incense 30 years ago. So when I was around 18, I first started to, try different mixtures, mix white sage with other herbs. And it's actually stayed with me for all of my life. It's kind of been a passion and a hobby of mine that I've always been doing. And whenever I traveled, I collected ingredients. Whenever I knew that somebody was traveling to a special place, I asked them if they would bring back something. So I have quite a collection, and I've also read a lot of books about smudging, about incense, about different ingredients. I'm fascinated and intrigued by all of them. So yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit of my knowledge and also explain a little bit what is in my mixture. So the first thing that we have is thyme and lavender, and these are quite common, quite known. Lavender is really used a lot for balancing, for harmonizing, for relaxing. It's a herb that's used a lot for helping you to sleep, so it really helps to relax, to calm the mind, and just cool down. And then thyme is also one that's also used to ingest. Now, if you have a sore throat, you make a thyme and sage fusion. And I just read up on thyme again, and I realized that in the Roman times, the soldiers or the warriors, the knights, used to put thyme oil or thyme on their body, and it was said to induce courage and bring out the best in people. So these are two very common or very known ingredients. The white sage, of course, as well. The white sage needs to be in there. It's very cleansing. Thyme, lavender, and sage together have antibacterial, disinfectant properties. So this is also a really nice thing to use when you had a cold, when somebody in your house was sick, to clear the air, when you had a conflict, when you had a fight, and the air is kind of thick after that. White sage and lavender and thyme is a really good combination to use for cleansing afterwards as well. Another herb that I actually found here in Mallorca that I wasn't aware of before is ruda. It's root or herb of grace, and it's actually mentioned in the Bible. So really, since ancient times, it has been used for cleansing, bringing out positivity, and it also has kind of this antibacterial and disinfectant property. Rosemary is there, and rosemary is also a herb that I collect here in Mallorca, where I live on the island. We have rosemary, we have wild rosemary, and I'm actually getting my rosemary from the farm of someone that I know who lives here, who has fields of rosemary and kind of up on the mountains as well. So it's kind of wild grown and sustainably farmed, if you can say that, for rosemary. Then an ingredient that I really like as well, also just for the smell, for the scent of it, is pine. And I put 3 different kinds of pine in there. So I have the pine needles, I have the pine wood, and I have the pine resin. So the pine in 3 different forms. The needle is really, well, all of them are really cleansing internally a lot. The pine needle has kind of this warmth to it, and it's used because it really gives a sense of warmth, of security, feeling safe. The pine wood, they say, has a little bit more of a healing aspect, or the emphasis on that. And the resin is really also calming the nerves. So it's healing internally, it's calming, it's kind of relaxing and giving the sense of security and stability, and also it's like an embrace, like a hug, making you feel safe. Then the next group of ingredients that I put in is the copal. The copal is also a resin from a tree that originally grew in Mexico, and there's 3 different varieties. There's the black copal, the white copal, and the gold copal. The copal in general was very revered by the indigenous people of that area, and it was called the food of gods. And for me, the black copal has a little bit of this aspect of bringing out the darkness in everything. And it's connecting you to your own darkness, to your own shadow sides, also making you aware of your limitations, your blockages, kind of this darker side within yourself, which I think is important to be able to transform it and to bring it into consciousness and bringing it into awareness to kind of change it and transform it and turn it around. So I wanted to put it in there. And then you have the white copal, which also by its name brings in more of the lightness, the mental energy, kind of also this light of mind that is more discerning, because sometimes we can get overwhelmed by our emotions, and also these shadow sides a lot of time is an illusion of what we identify with, or the blockages or the inner limitations that we accept. So the white copal really brings in kind of this higher mental energy that helps us to discern and distinguish. And then the gold copal really works on the heart, opening up the heart, self-love, self-compassion, self-acceptance. So that is the message in there. Another one that I use to bring in a little bit of that kind of bringing out your limitations is osha root. It's a very interesting ingredient, and I started to work with it a couple of years ago. You can also cut it up, chop it up and drink it. So the osha root works a lot on loosening up blockages and limitations, loosening up the anxiety. So for that, it's very relaxing. And if you take it in, for example, as a tea, they say it works a lot on your digestive system. So it removes blockages and it removes limitations internally as well when you drink it as a tea. In this case, we don't want it for that reason, but we want it for this loosening purpose that it has. Okay, then one other resin that I found that I really also love because of its scent, it has a really nice, fresh, citrusy scent, is damar. And damar, for me, it really just helps to lighten up. And it gives a little bit of focus and helps us to focus on what is truly important. So, yeah, if we look at the copal again, who brings out a little bit of that limitation side, then the damar helps to focus on what is really important. And sometimes it's not our limitations or our shadows, and we lose sight of what is really important. So I wanted to put it in there. Another ingredient that I also really like and I work with a lot is the cedar wood. In many traditions, the cedar is a tree that is sacred. So it has been used to create kind of this sacred space, this sacred environment. It's very relaxing, and it also keeps the negative thoughts away. So they used it a lot when they do circles, when they do ceremonies, to create this sacredness and keep the negativity out a bit. Then another ingredient that I got to know when I was traveling in the States is sweetgrass. And as it already says, it has kind of a very sweet, relaxing, soothing taste. And it does give this kind of lightheartedness, and it helps to go internally, but in a light way, in a fun way, in a happy way. Then another ingredient that obviously is very famous for its smudging purposes and is being used in various traditions and for many centuries is frankincense. So I actually put in 3 different varieties of frankincense, and what I learned with the frankincense is depending on where it comes from or depending on where the tree grows, it has a slightly different effect and a slightly different scent. So in this mixture I have a frankincense from Tibet, I have a frankincense from India, and I have a frankincense from Africa. And especially the one from Africa for me is quite light, it's quite fresh. The one from Tibet is a little bit heavier, and the one from India as well. But I wanted to include the 3 of them, and obviously it has been used for cleansing spaces in the ancient times. It's also a very spiritual ingredient, so it has always been used to accompany prayers, meditation, the intent to connect with the spiritual, kind of helping us to get out of our body, our minds, our emotions a little bit, and connect with that more intangible, unseen part of ourselves. Then the next one that I have is a tonka bean. It releases stress and anxiety. It's also the lucky bean. They call it the lucky bean. It's a small little bean. Sometimes they started to discover it for cooking, so you rasp a little bit on dessert. It has kind of a vanilla nutty taste, and I also love it in the incense because it kind of gives a little bit of also kind of this lightheartedness. And then the cinnamon flowers, it's not the cinnamon bark that we usually use, it's the flowers, dried flowers, that are relaxing, warming and protecting, so quite similar to the spice we use of the cinnamon. So as you can see, I really put this together with a purpose in mind. So you have the cleansing aspect, you have the antibacterial kind of disinfectant effect, then you have kind of the relaxing, calming, soothing, warming, nurturing part. You have the part that kind of looks a little bit more at the darkness and brings that out and helps to release that and transform that. And then you have the lightheartedness, the inspiration, the uplifting component. So that's really what I wanted to achieve with this mixture, to have all of this in there and make it an ingredient or a mixture that's really cleansing, but also really soothing for this time of year, also kind of warming, nurturing, protecting, and then also really uplifting and inspiring. So whether you use it for a cleansing ceremony, you use it for an inspiration ceremony, or you use it for any other ritual that you can think of, I think this is quite a nice ingredient or quite a nice mixture for you to use. I'm very happy the way it turned out, and I'm happy to share my knowledge. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment or ask below. And as I said, this is a mixture that goes into my ritual box. It's the main ingredient of my ritual box. It's called Little Rituals, and I'm putting the link in the comments below. And it's a box that contains everything you need to perform your own rituals, create your own rituals, and just make mindful habits part of your daily life. Okay, I hope you have a lovely day, and I talk to you soon. Bye.